What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host and DC sports fan, Ben Robertson, and on this page, we break down all the biggest headlines surrounding the Washington Wizards. So, today I want to talk a little bit about Kyshawn George. He has been absolutely hooping for Team Canada. Then we'll chat about Alex Sarr. How much pressure is he under going into year two? I want to follow up a conversation from yesterday's video about head coach Brian Keefe. And lastly, we will look ahead to next offseason. Obviously, so much projected cap flexibility for this Wizards front office to work with next year. Want to take a quick look ahead. I know still a little bit too early. As always, guys, appreciate all of the support here on the page. Thank you so much to those of you that are consistently tuning in. Remember, videos dropping here Monday through Friday. Also, see those of you guys regularly down in that comment section. Appreciate all the support here on the page and want to jump right in here today. Let's talk Kyshawn George. Team Canada has began FIBA AmeriCup action, and our guy Kyshawn has been absolutely hooping, led the team in scoring in 2 out of the 3 group stage games so far. Most recently, an 82-73 victory for Canada over Puerto Rico. That was really the biggest test for that Canadian squad out of the 3 group stage outings for their team. 82-73 victory there. Really, that game stayed close throughout, really into the fourth quarter. Puerto Rico at one point leading there in the late third. Kyshawn kept rolling, 17 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists on 5 of 10 shooting from the floor in that game. Showed what he can do really at every level of the court so far in this FIBA AmeriCup tournament. The shot continues to look silky smooth. He has just an awesome ability at his size and length to put the ball on the deck, even be able to play make a little bit. And then the defense is just always seems to be locked in with him. I know it's something I've seen from you guys that you love about him. I do as well. Again, continues with this young core here in DC, a defensive philosophy, a defensive mindset from this front office, prioritizing players like Kyshawn George, length, his versatility at both ends of the court. Canada hunting for their first ever AmeriCup title. Something I saw, just seemed a little bit weird that they've never won that event. There will be a pause in the action for that tourney here, actually on the day of this video's release here on Wednesday, and then the knockout stages for FIBA AmeriCup will begin on Thursday, August 28th. That also, of course, happens to be the day that Team France, Alex Sarr, Bilal Koulibaly, and co. begin Eurobasket competition Thursday, August 28th. Again, like I said, they will take on Belgium in their first matchup of actual Eurobasket play. I feel like I've been talking about those prep exhibitions for a while here now on the page. Both Sarr and Koulibaly actually wrapped up those exhibition friendly style events, whatever you want to call it, pretty well. Both finished with 10 points in the outing against Greece, of course, including Giannis Antetokounmpo on that Greek team, a 92-77 victory for Team France to close out their prep work for the FIBA AmeriCup, or excuse me, for the Eurobasket 2025 tournament. Now, Alex Sarr found himself sort of on the note of Sarr on a list made by Ricky O'Donnell, a longtime writer for SB Nation, of players under the most pressure going into next year in the NBA. And this list really featured some big names, some of the big stars in the league: LaMelo Ball, Zion Williamson, John Morant, Joel Embiid, DeAndre Ayton, and then there was Alex Sarr. And O'Donnell admits that while we also have sort of talked about as well, we weren't expecting Sarr to take the league over in his rookie year. We understood it was going to be a work in progress with him. But the big takeaway for O'Donnell in this article is really just that he needed to see the percentages be higher. Sarr only shot 45% from 2-point land last year and only 30% from 3-point land. I've said here on the page several times, if you're going to shoot as many threes as he did, you just have to be more efficient from that distance. Whether you're a 7-foot big or a 6-foot guard, 30% in the NBA at the volume of shoot threes that he was putting up is just not good enough. And the other part of this as well is that, on those 2-point attempts, him improving his efficiency there, getting stronger in the lane. I talk about it all the time, and just finding ways to use his athleticism, use his skill, to just get some easier looks around the rim is going to help him a ton. And if he can improve that 2-point percentage, improve that paint efficiency, he's going to make big strides. I really do think in his career. I'm not sure that year two is necessarily where we're going to see the best version of Alex Sarr, but I really do hope that we've seen progress after this next season. And maybe by year three, year four, he's starting to become that all-star type level of player that warrants the number 2 overall pick. Again, just want to see him continue to improve his efficiency. It talks about that in this article as well, and that's going to be a big step and a big key, I really do think, for Sarr. Next thing I want to chat about is a follow-up from yesterday's discussion. Of course, go check out the video, like and subscribe to the page if you haven't already. Talked about Scott Conrad's next 3 steps that he laid out or envisions for this Wizards rebuild. One of those steps, of course, referenced moving on from head coach Brian Keefe, also referenced Pacers and Pistons in recent years making coaching changes just before sort of taking jumps as teams and as franchises. One thing I will say about Keefe, and I saw you guys discussing this down in the comment section as well. A couple things. I don't think there's going to be a couple things I should really say. I don't think there's going to be a rush if to let him go, especially if we're seeing growth and development from these young players, from Sarr, from Bilal Coulibaly, from Bub Carrington. If they are improving throughout the course of this season, I don't think the team is necessarily going to be rushing to let Keefe go. And of course, that was his calling card really when he came to the organization, part of why he was promoted to head coach. His history of player development. Kevin Durant, of course, one of the all-time greats in the NBA, says about Brian Keefe that he taught me everything I know. And I mean, I don't think that praise of a scorer of the caliber of Kevin Durant is something to maybe just be discounted. I really do think that development is a crucial part of coaching. I also want to say, no disrespect here to Wes Unseld Jr., obviously a legendary name here in the area and for the franchise. But obviously, the situation that Keefe inherited wasn't exactly excellent. Unseld got fired on a team trying not necessarily to win games. That's not exactly an easy thing to do. And the situation and the franchise's direction really hasn't changed in the season and a half that Keefe has taken over since. So I'm not necessarily sure that he's actually gotten maybe a fair chance to show who he really can be as a coach in the NBA. I think for him, a big part of our evaluation of him this season is, are you going to improve, situationally in some of those, key moments in games? That's really what I want to see from Coach Keefe this year, and I think is going to be telling about what his future with the team might look like. Last thing I want to talk about today is I want to look way ahead, to be quite honest. I mentioned probably still a little too early to do this in the intro, but to next offseason and sort of the free agency class next year. We talk about all the time the team Wizards, I should say, expected to have a ton of cap flexibility next year and potentially start to maybe turn the tide from a rebuilding type organization to a team starting to try to compete and try to win games. I want to give you a couple players that I think they're maybe on the market and Washington might have interest in. One probably more of a long shot than the other. A couple of positions of question, I will say. I'm not going to say need, but I will say of question. And both of these guys are going to be 28 when they would become available. So the first guy, as you see down below, is Trae Young. He will have a year player option left on his deal after next year, and that player option will be a $48 million salary from Atlanta. So I realize just that alone might be hard to pass up on. But if he did happen to do it, Trae is one of the best passers in the NBA, can be an electric despite inefficient scorer, and at his very best has proved that he can lead a team to the conference finals. I don't think he would have to be maybe the focal point of scoring if they were able to acquire him. I think he could really show off his ability as a passer and maybe kind of free himself up, or maybe have less pressure on him defensively and get freed up from some open looks from 3-point land. Trae, Kyshawn, Cam Whitmore can kind of fill those scoring roles and let Trae distribute, them the basketball. The other player I'll throw out who potentially could be an option next offseason is Isaiah Hartenstein, the big man from OKC. And by the way, I mentioned positions of question or positions of need. I realize Bub Carrington, we are hoping is the point guard of the future, but I think that is a big question mark here for this year. I'm hoping that he proves he is that guy and can run the offense long term. Like I said, last person I want to talk about here today is Isaiah Hartenstein. And again, positions of question or need. I think the big man spot, whether it's a 4 or a 5, I think long term somebody is going to get paired next to Alex Sarr, and I think Hartenstein really has proved he could be the perfect fit there. He has a $28 million club option from OKC next year, but maybe if they let him walk, it would be an interesting fit to me again next to Alex Sarr, because he has shown, Hartenstein that is, that he can play next to a player that has maybe some of those similar qualities that Sarr has. And I'm not saying Sarr is Chet Holmgren, but has those same kind of stretch the floor, but also a great shot blocker type traits to his game. And I think Hartenstein's rebounding, his passing could pair really well alongside of that. Really interested to see what direction the team goes in next offseason. Remember, you look at a team like Houston this year, or in the last couple of years, they sort of made a couple of splash signings, but didn't land, maybe that guy that somebody thought they would take them over the top. And then here this offseason, they make a big trade for Kevin Durant, and now you're thinking are really trying to compete. You wonder if maybe a similar course or path is what Will Dawkins is on. I will keep you posted on everything Wizards related right here on the page. Make sure you keep tuning in, dropping those comments. I see you guys consistently down in that comment section. Thank you for all the support here on the page. Thanks for tuning in every single day, and thanks for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.